She didn't wake up one morning and decide to leave. She's been trying to tell you for years, and you missed it. Not because you're dumb, not because you don't care, but because you were trained to solve the wrong problems. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why high-performing men, the ones who crush it at work, lead teams, build businesses, are the last ones to see the marriage crisis coming. And more importantly, what to do once you finally see it. I'm Noah Allen, and let's get into this. If you're watching this, you're probably a guy who's successful. You run things, you lead people, you solve hard problems every single day. But at home, something feels off. Maybe she's quiet, maybe she's cold. Maybe she said those words, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." And it hit you like a freight train. Because in your mind, things were fine. Not perfect, but fine. You were providing, you were present, you were doing what you thought a good husband does. And here's what nobody tells you. That's exactly the blind spot. Think about this for a second. Imagine a ship captain. He's checking the engines every day. Fuel levels, speed, navigation, everything is running smoothly, but below the deck, there is a slow leak. The crew has been reporting it for months, but the captain doesn't check below the deck because the instruments on the bridge say everything is fine. By the time the water reaches the bridge, it's a crisis. That's what's happening in your marriage. You're checking the instruments, you know, income, stability, routine, but the leak is emotional, and nobody taught you how to read that gauge. So today, we're going to fix that. I'm going to give you 3 things. Number 1, why your success at work actually creates a blind spot at home. Number 2, what she really is trying to tell you months or years ago that looks small but were massive to her. And number 3, how to close the skill gap starting today. Not next year, not in therapy, today. Here's the first thing you need to understand. The same skills that made you successful at work, problem solving, compartmentalizing, staying focused under pressure, risk aversion, not letting emotions slow you down, those skills are killing your marriage. Not because they're bad skills, they're incredible skills, but they were built for external problems, business problems, strategy problems, operational problems. Marriage is not an external problem. Marriage is an emotional environment, and emotional environments don't respond to the same playbook. Here's how I explain it. At work, you're the thermostat. You set the temperature. You control the environment. People follow your lead. But at home, you've been acting like a thermometer. You're just reading the room. She's happy? Great. Everything's fine. She's quiet? Must be tired. She's distant? Probably stressed from work. You're reacting. You're not leading. And the reason you don't even realize it is because nothing in your training, not your MBA, not your military career, not your years of building business, ever taught you to lead an emotional environment. You were taught to lead people, manage outcomes, hit targets. But leading at home requires a completely different kind of awareness. It requires an emotional leadership, not being soft, not being a pushover. Emotional leadership means you're reading what's underneath the surface. It means when she says, "I'm fine," you understand there are layers below that, what I call bleeding points. These are the deeper wounds underneath the surface symptoms. She says, "We're like roommates." That's the surface. Beneath that, she's saying, "I don't feel safe being close to you anymore." And if you don't know how to read those layers, you'll keep trying to fix the surface, and the deeper wounds stay open. Look, if this is hitting close to home, if you're sitting there, that's exactly what's happening to me. I want you to know something. This is what I do. I help high-achieving husbands rebuild trust, reignite connection, and lead at home, again, using the Heroic Husband Method. If you want a clear plan, not guesswork, not therapy speak, real strategic plan, book a free call with my team. That link is in the description below. Now let's keep going. Here's the second thing that changes everything once you understand it. Your wife didn't suddenly shut down. She tried to save this marriage long before you knew it needed saving. And that's even being more and more shown to me because we're about to launch the female version of our product. We're about to hit that side as well. And look, from everything that I've learned, seen between couples, rewriting this book for women, and even coaching women and men, women process emotional disconnection differently than men. When a woman starts feeling unsafe in the relationship, when the emotional safety erodes, She doesn't come to you with a PowerPoint presentation. She doesn't schedule a meeting and lay out the data. She sends signals, small ones, quiet ones that ones that to you look completely normal. Let me give you an example. Let's say you come home after a long day and she asks, "How was your day?" And you say, "Fine, long. What's for dinner?" To you, that's a normal exchange. Nothing wrong with it. But to her, she just tried to connect with you. She opened a door and you walked right past it. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't fight. She just notes it. And that happens once a day, then once a week. Then it becomes a pattern. After 6 months of that, she stops trying. After a year, she starts pulling away. After 2 years, she tells you she's done. And you're standing there going, where did this come from? It didn't come from nowhere. It came from 1,000 small moments where she reached out and you didn't reach back. That's what we call death by 1,000 cuts. Think of it like this. Every marriage has an emotional bank account. Every time she tries to connect and you're present, it's a deposit. Every time she reaches out and gets nothing back, it's a withdrawal. You didn't blow the account up with one big purchase. You drained it with 1,000 small transactions you didn't even know were happening. And here's the part that hurts. She did try to tell you. Maybe it was a sigh after dinner. Maybe it was sleeping earlier than usual. Maybe she stopped asking about your day. Maybe she started spending more time with her friends or on her phone. To you, normal changes. To her, survival mode. She was pulling back because she no longer felt safe leaning in. And here's the part that really gets men. By the time you notice, by the time she says those devastating words, she's already gone through an entire grieving process. She grieved the marriage while you were still in it. She went through the denial, anger, bargaining, depression. And by the time that she tells you, she's often at acceptance. Meanwhile, you're just entering denial. You're 2 years behind her in the emotional timeline. And that gap, that's where most men panic. They start chasing, begging, promising to change, buying flowers, planning surprise trips. And every single one of those moves pushes her further away. Because desperation doesn't rebuild trust, consistency does. Calm, grounded, visible action over time is the only thing that closes that gap. Not grand gestures, not a tearful apology, not a weekend getaway. Word backed by action. Every single day. That's how the account gets refilled. That's how she starts to look at you differently. What I teach inside the Heroic Husband Method is that emotional safety is the foundation of everything. Without it, she can't trust. Without trust, she can't desire. Without desire, the marriage dies. And most men don't see that chain reaction until it's 3 stages deep. Now, here's the part most people don't talk about. And this is the most important thing I'm going to say in this whole video. So listen closely. You didn't fail. You were never trained for this. Think about it. You spent years learning how to run a business, how to manage people, how to close deals, how to perform under pressure. Where was the training on how to lead at home? They don't teach us in school. Where was the course on reading your wife's emotional signs and signals? Where was the mentor who said, hey, leadership at home requires a different awareness than leadership at work? It didn't exist. So you did what any smart man would do. You applied the tools you had. Problems show up, you fix it. She's upset, you solve it. Things feel off, work harder. But that's using a wrench on an electrical problem. The tool isn't wrong, it's just wrong for this job. So let me put it this way. If you hire a top-tier sales director and put them in charge of HR overnight, would you expect them to crush it on day one? Of course not. They need training, new frameworks, a different way of seeing people. That's exactly where you are right now. You're a high performer in a role that requires a different skill set than the one that made you successful. And the good news is you can learn this. In fact, high performers pick this up faster than anyone else because they've already have that discipline, and discipline is better than motivation. You already have that drive. You already have the ability to commit to a process and execute. What you've been missing is a framework. Inside the Heroic Husband Method, I teach something called the Emotional Layering Protocol. It's a 3-stage system, healing, shifting, and bonding, that teaches you how to rebuild emotional safety, how to shift the dynamic between you and your wife, and how to create lasting connection through consistent action. Not through words, not through promises, through word backed by action. Because she's not listening to what you say anymore. She's watching what you do. I worked with a man recently, an executive, ran a team of 40. Company was growing double digits year over year. But when he came to me, his wife had been sleeping in the guest room for 3 months. She told him she felt more like his employee than his wife. That hit him hard because in his mind, he was doing everything right, providing, present, stable, but he was leading at home the same way he led in the office. Efficient, task-oriented, zero emotional awareness. Once he understood the blind spot, once he learned to read the emotional signals instead of just the surface, things started to shift. Not overnight, not with some magical conversation, but through consistent visible behavioral changes. Within 60 days, his wife moved back into the bedroom. Within 90 days, she told him, for the first time in years, I feel safe with you again. That didn't happen because he tried harder. It happened because he learned to lead differently. He stopped checking the instruments on the bridge. He went below deck. He learned to see what was really going on. And when he started showing up with that kind of awareness, she didn't just notice, she felt it. And that's the difference. You can't tell her you've changed. She has to feel it. And she only feel it when you're leading from a completely different place. So let me bring this all together. If you're a high-performing man and your marriage feels like it's falling apart, I need you to hear 3 things. 1, your success at work created a blind spot at home. The skills that build your career are not the skills that will save your marriage. 2, she tried to tell you for months, maybe years, those small moments you thought were nothing, they were everything to her. 3, this is not a failure. This is a skill gap. And skill gaps can be closed, especially by men like you. You are already built for this. You've rebuilt businesses. You've recovered from setbacks that would crush most people. You led through chaos before. This is no different. The only thing standing between you and the marriage you actually want is the right framework and the decision to move. Not next month, not when things get worse, now. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The window doesn't stay open forever. Every day you wait is another day she moves further into acceptance. And further she goes, the harder it is to reach her. It's not impossible, but it is harder. If you're tired of guessing, if you want a clear strategic plan to rebuild the trust, reignite connection, and lead at home with the same precision you lead at work, then book a free consultation with my team. We'll walk you through exactly where you are, what's really going on underneath the surface, and what your next move should be. The link is right below in the description. And if you're not ready for that, grab a copy of my book, The Heroic Husband Method. It'll give you the foundation to start seeing what you've been missing. You didn't fail. You just didn't have the playbook yet. Now you know. I'm Noah Allen. I'll see you in the next one.